So, beautiful people, today we have one of my favorite people. I know I interview my favorite people, but this for real is one of my favorite people in the entire world. My brother, my friend, fellow Howard alum.
Ain't you?
Otis Donovan Herring. So glad to have you with us today.
I'm very excited to be here.
So, one of my favorite and fondest memories of you.
Okay.
And this is probably one of my first memories. I was high school senior.
Yes, okay.
Coming into the 5 to 6 to 7 day dance intensive at Howard University.
Absolutely.
Long time ago. We're not going to talk about the year.
Doesn't matter.
And I remember you and maybe there were only, I think at the time there were 3 other guys that were auditioning to be in the program. I wasn't auditioning yet. I was just simply participating.
Right. Okay.
And I remember you going across the dance floor with Baba Hassan.
Okay.
And he was telling you that your arms and your legs have got to coordinate together. And you had these twisties. You had not locked your hair yet.
Not yet.
You had these twisties in your hair. You were wearing glasses. And the look on your face looked like, yeah, I'm eventually going to get it. But right now, I need to try to find the rhythm.
Yeah.
And so to see where you are now is light years and also many memories beyond
oh man
that moment.
Yes.
And so it's really really exciting and to be able to see how even small moments like that have translated and progressed into the dance, the artist, the being that you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, this is really, it's been full circle to see a lot of your career. So one of the things that I want to know is, what is your first memory of dancing?
Dancing, okay, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Usually you don't answer a question with the question. When you say first memory of dancing, as far as just my whole life or first?
No, in general.
In general? Oh man, I would say my first memory of dancing would probably be with my brother. With my brother when I can't even remember the age, but we would dance together. Nothing professional, nothing in front of people, just in our upstairs in our room, in our rooms or whatever. And we would just connect in that way of just kind of like mucking around, playing around. That would be my first memory of dance. We had these like sticks or something like that. And we would, I think they were like old brooms or old mops, you know, something like that. And we would just kind of coordinate and do movement. What type of movement? Really debatable of if it was, I mean, it felt coordinated. It felt like it made sense. But yeah, that was probably one of my first memories of dance in my life. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So what about that, or even just things that transcended or were connected to that down the line, made you say, this is what I want to do?
Oh, shucks. Okay. I'm gonna try to truncate this. So that happened. And then there was the TV show or this show called The Box, or this channel called The Box, right? And I specifically remember Are You That Somebody? Aaliyah, right? Choreographed by the Fatima Robinson. Right? And that was it. I think because it kept coming on so much, I was able to learn the steps, the movements off of the TV, right? So that happened. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm doing it. Like I'm doing what they're doing in the best way I could. But I think I had it down pat. I ain't gonna lie. I think I had it tight, right? So that happened. And then at the time there was like the most expensive videos, you know, ever made or something like that.
Yes.
By the guy who did, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. They had that on MTV, I think. And so, yeah, so you're watching that and then I realized that, oh, you can make a career out of this. Like this is a thing, you know, like at the time choreographers were getting paid. I think the person who did MC Hammer's choreography, $20,000. And I was like, wow, that's a thing, you know what I'm saying? So I think at that point, wheels started churning and I started to just be more passionate about it. Again, I grew up at the time of, you know, NSYNC, Backstreet, Britney Spears, like pop music where people were hitting it. Okay.
Dancing in the music videos, there was for real choreography.
Yeah. Yeah. So that I invested in Fatima Robinson's video. I invested in Darren's dance grooves. I invested in, I think Wade Robson had a tape then. So that was what I did. And then I make my own tape off of the music videos and performances, live performances. And that was for me at the time was my training. So I would go down to the basement in my parents' room, move the coffee table, wherever, and then start going and then start learning and whatever like that. Now, at the time, I didn't know that you either had to mirror or do the same thing. So I was just doing the best I could. So I was probably, if they were on the right, I was probably on the left, but whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just started to churn and evolve that way. We did some friends and I did the high school talent show, won grand prize, based on my own personal choreography and choreography, done off the TV. And then it was like, well, I figured if you can go to school to learn how to be a doctor, lawyer, all these things that you didn't know about before,
Right.
then school should be able to teach you how to be a dancer. And that was my philosophy. Now,
I love this logic.
yeah, that's the logic, right? Now, you can do that and you can still come out and be trash. Respectfully, you can come out and still not have the step or the groove. But there's a matter of, I think, passion. There's a matter of go-get-itness and will and drive that I had to learn, that I had to get. And I think my mom was like, this is something you want to do? Are you sure? Like, I don't know if you know how much work it takes to be a dancer. Me. Well, I make straight A's. I think I can do it. Straight A's and dance are not the same. Okay? They are
not. Let's be real. They are not the same, okay?
not the same. So it's that type of concept of maybe a little bit of aloofness, maybe a bit of arrogance or in some way, but you have to, and that's probably, we can touch on it later, but a bit of arrogance in some way, in some respects, has to be healthy delusion. That's probably a code name for that. So I think in that regard, that's the way forward is a little bit of healthy. You may be punching above,
right?
But that's the only way to get to where where you're wanting to be. So that's how that progressed in this truncated form. That's how that progressed for me.
See, I'm learning something new today because I had no idea.
Yeah.
In the basement. So you mentioned, I want to touch on this. You mentioned some of the people that you followed their choreography. Who were some? You mentioned Fatima and you mentioned Darren and wait, who were some of your other dance heroes at that point?
Oh, at that time, all I had was like the commercial based, hip hop or commercial based dance. Again, those individuals, Tina Lund, she did all the choreography for Janet Jackson at the time. Ooh, people are gonna look at me and be crazy and be like, "Oh, how you don't?" But who did the choreography for Janet Jackson?
Yes.
That Darren, all those, boom, 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 boom. Who else did I used to really? Those were the ones. I feel like they were the icons because that's who I was looking up to. I would also say Chili from TLC had the meanest crush on Chili when I was young, and I got to meet her at a Braves game when Braves were still at Fulton Stadium.
Oh, wow.
Ran into her randomly, took a picture, and those disposable joints.
Yes,
On that last Polaroid,
that exposure,
it can be a little funny.
Yeah.
That was where that came. So when I tell you that picture was developed and it was, I was so hurt. So hurt. That was my moment. I was like, oh my God, this is happening. And baby, that exposure was non-existent. So but those individuals like TLC and Backstreet and again Fatima, like those people, and I was again at this time I was so young, I was so new to what was happening.
Your idea of dance was small at that point.
Oh, it was minuscule. It was very minuscule because that's all I knew. That's all I could see. And granted, my mom did expose me to Alvin Ailey and whatever was at the Fox and the Alliance Theater, those, Atlanta-based theaters. But, it wasn't as widespread and my parents were giving me as much as they could, which was enough. Oh, they got a phenomenal job, right? So, yeah, so that was about the most, or that was a lot that I could could achieve and get my hands on. So yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit. The moment that you decided, 1, to go to Howard.
Yeah.
2, to go to Howard and study dance.
Yeah.
3, the realization, oh, A's in dance are not really A's in dance.
Right.
What became a part of your healthy delusion at that point? And who were some of the people that you looked up to?
Gosh, there was no healthy delusion. I was fighting for my life out here. Sorry. But I'll give you that. So I did want to go to school for dance. I had the beauty of my parents, paying for that and supporting me in that regard. So we are very grateful for that.
Yes.
I didn't necessarily, Howard was a last choice. I either wanted to go, I think I auditioned at UGA, University of Georgia. I had done an interview at Columbia for, in New York.
Yes.
I think I talked about New York more than Columbia in my interview. So they were probably like, I was like, but it's New York. Hey. So that happened, UGA, but that was a fallback.
Okay.
And then Howard was like a whim, was like the last thought of things. So I threw that in on the last day that was due, and I got in. My mom said they have a black dance troupe or that black dance major. So I was like, okay. Okay. Cool. So I'm just going to do it because that was that. I also had scholarships at University of Rochester. And right. So, but I went and figured out, and yeah. Wow. So it was a possibility, but it was very uncertain. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I ended up choosing Howard. I went to Howard on the rehearsal, not the rehearsal. The first day of the intensive was my first time being on Howard's campus.
Whoa.
So it was a lot going on. I had been in DC before, but it's all happening, sensory overload for real. So that was that. Fast forward, and then getting to Howard, the 5-day intensive was crazy, rocked my world. I remember on the third day, I was like, I think I remember sitting with Dr. Johnson in the studio on that, and I was losing, right? Because I was just like, I don't know if I could do it, and And she was like, you gotta make the decision. But she wasn't like harsh, like, brother, you got to make the decision. That's on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't do that. She was actually very caring, because she's always been caring. Right. But it was just like,
the delivery was gentle enough.
It was gentle enough to be like, this is on you. Like, you're getting all of what you're getting, but this is a part of that. So yeah, it was a lot, but I made the decision. I said, all right, I'm do it. That day, because at this point it was like, you either need to do this presentation or not, or whatever. Like, it was these type of factors that needed to happen, because if you, yeah, it was the 5 to 6 days is which you had to do to give you all the things that we were going to make the decision on if you were going to come into this program. Yeah, because I only had maybe 6 weeks or 3 weeks before starting at the dance program, like starting in that at the audition at the intensive. I went to some recreational dance studio for 6 weeks. So I was 17, 18, taking ballet for the first time with 12-year-olds. Yeah. So I'm like this big guy, but just taller compared to 12-year-olds. Just in here, what is a do? What is supposed to happen? So I said all that, and not to disclaim the individual who was running the studio at the time. But she was like, I don't think you're going to make it. I don't think that's possible. I don't think it's possible for you. And I was like, I took it. I heard it, but I kind of had to keep going. I was like, well, this is happening. So, well, we'll see. We shall see. Look at me now. But yeah, but that's what happened. So that was the whole thing. During that intensive, probably, I guess Baba San probably saw something in me, maybe. But African was probably something that was making sense to me. But rhythms, when live instrumentation comes into play, you are like, what is happening? This is not 2, 4, 6, 8. You know what I'm saying? This ain't that. There's something else going on, right? But probably the person that I gravitated the most to, literally, was probably Ronald K. Brown of Evidence. Something about that, his movement at that time, or something about his movement for me blew me away. Blew me away because it felt like something that I had been doing. It gave me confidence because I was like, oh, this feels like something I can do based on my 2 weeks, 3 weeks of learning how a tandu and about mine, all those things. I was like, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
Like this, like something about this class feels non-foreign to me. So that was he again probably was the most influential to me in my little being of learning what that was. So yeah.
Yeah, I think in recalling even what was going on during those classes, especially during the intensive, I remember by the time we got to Ron's class, everybody was in a state of either shock,
Delirium.
delirium. And so one of the things that I think is very essential about his movement is something, the combinations, the nuances, they are engineered to make you feel good.
Right.
And so, of course there's all of the different references and cultural context and spirituality that's connected to it based on different traditions.
Right.
But the way that it's constructed and also the way that it's taught, it has those sensibilities. So
Completely.
So we are grateful.
Very grateful. If it wasn't for that class, I don't know if I'd be in dance because I would have felt so minuscule. I would have felt like, oh, this is actually something I really don't think I can do.
Yeah.
Because there has to be something that you feel that you can achieve and gives you confidence inside of that. Like, even if it's small, we took so many classes in that day or in those days. And you're like, I don't know from who and what type of whatever. But this one class made me feel like I can achieve. And so I had to go with that. I went with that, and then yeah, it manifested itself into where I am now.
Legendary Ronald K. Brown.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So what would be one, what we experienced in the intensive was like a microcosm of what we would eventually experience during our matriculation in the program.
Yes.
Like, there's literally nothing that happened that did not happen in some way.
Completely.
During that. And I think that when people are choosing to go to college for dance and are looking at programs, that's something that they need to absolutely consider. Like, what is this going to be like? Not just this one day, but how is this going to manifest through my time in the program. So what is a piece of advice or something that you wish that young aspiring dancers who are going into a dance program thought about, knowing what you know now and where you are today?
It's hard to say. Because there's a level of trust and a level of humbleness that you have to go into any program with, because yes, you might have achieved, you could be achieving so much in where the level that you are, where you are. You could have choreographed, you could have been, state champion of all types of things and everything like that. And that's important. We honor that, right? But we're going to a different level now. And there has to be a level of humility to understand that in order for me to get to where I think I want to be, I got to bring myself down to get to that space. But there's also have to be a level of trust in the staff and the faculty that you are hopefully choosing, what it is. Research. Who's teaching me? What have they done? Where are they coming from? Because not to say you can't give great instruction without having been a professional dancer or in the dance field. But there is a level of what did you do? What did you experience? And what are you bringing to me to be able to achieve what I want to do? If the faculty doesn't have anything that you see that goes, oh yeah, it may not be the space for you.
Right.
I'm gonna say that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's, you do that when you do personal training. You don't want to choose the trainer that looks
out of shape.
You know, I ain't gonna say it, right? But, you know, not to say that people don't know the information. The information is theory. It is what it is. But you want to look like who was training you, I feel.
Yes.
So if the person looks like this, then yeah. That's
Sign
it.
me up.
Absolutely, because they're gonna get me like they are in some way, somehow, right? And so then there is that aspect of research, humbling research and trust. Because if these individuals have done all the things that they've done in their resume and their CV and are, you know, going forward, then they can probably get me where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it has to be that balance. And you also have to, like, again, research. People don't like to research. Google is your friend. TikTok, maybe not. Because TikTok ain't giving you all the answers. I'm just going to say it. I'm saying it, right? But Google is there.
Yeah.
The search engines are there, whether it be Firefox or whatever, it's there for you to be able to use, to utilize, to get where you want to be.
Yeah, and
you know,
when we were looking at programs, we did not have that type of access. You know, we had to wait for snail mail to get brochures and hope that they were the most updated ones.
Right.
You know, things like that. So yeah, the advantages of technology now.
Yeah, check the faculty and what are they doing? What did they do? And how are they going to help me and do that? And not to say interview them, but I don't know if there's a process. I've only known the process that I have, an intensive before everything starts.
Mm-hmm. But it is kind of like an interview. You got to see what it was. You got to see the way that the faculty interacted with each other, with you. You got to see how that translated into instruction. Yeah. Like that was an interview for both. Like, are we a fit?
Yeah. Do we match? Do we link up? Because if we ain't linked, then we're probably going to do this the whole time. And that probably you don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars doing this.
In years. And also, like, culturally, does it align with how you want to experience your education?
Yeah. Because, I mean, and that's the other thing is that tertiary education is going to give you a particular level and a particular amount of experience and knowledge and practicality or practicum, right? Mm-hmm. But there's going to need to be other things that you do to supplement where you're trying to be.
Right.
We had internships that really pushed us, you know, company-wise, whatever, or where you wanted to go.
Right.
You know, we knew plenty of people that left Howard to go do the thing, right? And if you're able to go do the thing, go do the thing. Don't waste everybody else's time being angry and, you know, don't do that. Don't do it to yourself because time is of the essence, respectfully.
In this dance body.
And again, we can talk about it later, in my about to be 40 body, there's some stuff that I'll be like, I am not doing that. But back then, when I'm fresh out or fresh in that space, throw me around, lift me, twist me, you know, I'm trying to be up, down on the ground anyway. You know what I'm saying? 100 times. What you want me to do? I can do it. You know? So it's that type of, I'll say balance, but there is that type of communication that has to be ongoing.
This is excellent advice. Excellent.
Excellent
advice. So, you know, you mentioned internships.
Yes.
So having the opportunity to work with professionals actually in these spaces, take class, do the master classes, in some ways get to perform, get to do the electives, like all of these different things. What was, and maybe it happened before this, what was your first paid gig?
My first paid gig was the developmental workshop for Fela, the musical. That was my first paid gig. I got it my senior year at Howard. And quick story on that. I'd been in New York interning with Evidence. And so I think there was an audition. I think in my time of being there during the summer, something like that. So I went to the audition. I actually got cut. But then Maya Garcia, who had been taking Evidence classes and, you know, who's Cuban, she was doing the assistant to the choreographer, who was Bill T. Jones. So doing that, and she was like, you got cut. And I was like, and so then she brought me back in the room. And that's the deal. You gotta know people. I'm just saying. Relationships are very important. Okay? We ain't gonna get into that right now, but relationships are important. Period. Right? So she brought me back in the room. I made it to the end, got to sing and do all these things, right? I didn't get, so then that audition went right into the first development workshop.
The workshop.
Yeah, I didn't get it, right? Which is fine. Went back to school. Everything's cool. But then I got a call. I was in a calf, got a call, and they were like, "Hey, Otis Herring, we'd like you to come in to do the second, the developmental workshop." And I was like, and at the time, I think it was $500 for the week. And I was like, oh my God, I'll make $500 a week. Right? So I was very keen on it. And I was like, oh snap. So I went back to Dr. Johnson, and, we're not even going to get into the politics of all the things, right? But, I went back and she was like, oh, okay, well, she had a little air about it, but she was like, okay, you're going to do a budget. You need to do this, that, and the third, because at the time we had to do budgets and everything for our internships, which makes sense. Because what money you got to go into do the thing and how you gonna do the thing if you're trying to do it, right?
This was also helping you develop that life skill of you got to live and you got to make money in order to do that.
Yeah.
So how does this work
in
life?
Does it make sense for you to take it at all, right? Because that now becomes a thing, especially now where I'm at in really a freelance space, is that if it doesn't pan out to be, it doesn't have to be hella lucrative, but if it's not exposing you financially and with those connections, you have to weigh the cost of it.
Is it worth that investment?
Is it worth it at all? So at that time she was like, you got to do this and the third. And I was like, okay. And Dr. Jones was very clear about what it is. She was like, well, if you want to about then do whatever your little heart desires. And I was like, okay, well, I was like, bet. My heart desires $500 for the week, and it'd be enough. Like, I was like, whatever. Like, this is what you trained me for. Is to go out here and get this the money. No, joking. Get the job, right? So I did it. I did all the budget stuff and everything like that. And then respectfully, she was like, well, and this is the other thing, is that when you sign up to do something, there are other things that are impacted.
Right.
And that impacted my my lessons, but my courses, right? But what was cool is that she was like, well, you're going to, withdraw from Tony Lumbry, rest in peace, Tony Lumbry's tap class and stuff like that. And I was like, cool, you made me sign up for it anyway. So, that's fine. Now granted, hindsight, probably would have been good to take a little tap class because people don't tap no more sometimes. And so therefore, you do. Right? But it's that thing of like, okay, well then that's something that I'm going to miss out on, but I'm going to
consequences for the choice you made.
Absolutely.
But being solid in that choice.
Yeah. And that's even now in my life, because choosing to do different gigs, keeping that integrity to do different gigs. Sometimes when another opportunity comes, you can't take that opportunity. You can. But if you start to just hop around to the next big thing and the next this and this and that without holding any type of integrity and accountability to your thing, you could be you're very dangerous as the individual, because then
how can you be trusted?
Exactly. How can you be trusted if you just gonna hop to the next thing when the next thing comes? Shady, crazy. Please don't be that individual. Please don't be that individual who hops around everything. Yes, there's a way to level up. There's a way to, choose wisely, but talk to your agent, talk to whomever, and be as transparent as possible, as possible when need to be, about certain things, because it can be really dicey and you don't want to become the person that is untrustworthy when it comes to the business of what you're doing.
Because
right?
At a certain point, it's not a question of whether you can dance or not.
Yeah, half the time it's not even about that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's about everything else. How do you work in a room? We know you can hit the step, but if you pissing everybody off at the same time, don't nobody want to work with you. And if you gonna be here for 3 weeks and then off and then do something else, then nah, we cool, because we don't know how that's gonna work, and everything is too expensive. There's too much money on the line that doesn't really involve you yet.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't involve you yet. And so therefore, if we don't even know that you can sign up and then go through with it, we don't want to
That's a gamble.
take the risk.
Yeah.
Right. It's a gamble. So yeah, all that happened. I got the second workshop, went and did the work, which was amazing, which was a great time. Met so many great people, and actually got asked to do it again the third time, but the third time was right when I finished school. And I was like, and for me, I just finished school and I was like, baby, we got to get to work. Like, you know what I'm saying? And this $500 right now may not necessarily result to a longevity of a situation. So in that regard, I auditioned for Evidence my second time and then end up booking or getting accepted to the company in July of 2007, which then led me to be in the company for 6 years. But then they didn't have no Fela. They had to do another workshop, and then Fela went to Broadway, and then Fela was a mass success. And it was like, yeah. Because you're like, I'm gonna go to Broadway. But you know, it's just that sacrifice. You don't know. Some of these things don't pan out.
Yeah, especially, there's so many things that are not art related that affect the arts.
Completely.
And so then when you get into the space where things are strategically happening with the arts, you have to make the decision. And again, you at least you had sound advice, you had sound mentorship to help, you had practice
Absolutely
with figuring out like what that was going to look like. And then also you were being accountable for your choices. And, thankfully there were still choices that led to success.
Absolutely.
You didn't make bad choices in that way.
Right. I had to go with what I felt was going to be more of a sure shot for me, which was the company. And it proved to be it changed my life, honestly. Like, my life is already being changed and your life is always going to be changing, but it changed my life, in that regard. So it's a beautiful time. But yeah, I don't know what would have happened if I actually did the third workshop. I would have been broke because I would have been figuring out how to make more money for the rest of the time. But if I would have made it to Broadway, baby, I would have been on Broadway hitting a step. So it choices.
Yeah.
You have to make choices, and that's in life. And there are things that will happen and will not happen, but I think at the time of being 21, all I knew was like, get into the company and get this party started, because that's what it was geared to.
But let me just say this.
Yes, say.
At the point where you have graduated with this degree in dance, at the point where there was somebody somewhere in Georgia that said, I don't think you're gonna make it.
Right.
At the point where you've graduated, your parents have spent all of this amazing money for this degree, and you had choices.
Right.
Like, that's just I think one is a testament to your healthy delusion.
Healthy delusion.
Your ambition, the amount of growth and work it took for you to even be able to be in these professional spaces, building the relationships, but also like studying. And yes, the A's were not as important as the application of the
because they would not give you the A's out. Like, just because you finish the course don't mean you get the A.
You finished the course.
You finished the course. And okay, you still rocking this beat. Carry on.
Yeah.
So,
with all of those things happening, and maybe this hasn't happened yet, or maybe there's a different way that you've come to this understanding. But at what point did you feel like, I've made it?
I'll say two. And that's because life is always changing and there are different goals at every time. One was probably dancing in Millennium Park in Chicago with Evidence and an outdoor engagement. I remember being very focused and into it, and apparently the camera was on me and I was getting it. Focus. And I looked up and I was like, stars. Audience, I'm outside. You have one of those moments and then you're back into it, but then the camera's on you and then, they see you go flighty. And they're like, well, where the you go? A friend of mine was in the audience. He was like, yo, the camera's on you, but then you just went somewhere. Where did you go? And I was like, oh my God, they saw that? Yes, you're on stage. Everybody's looking at you, sucker. But it was just stuff like that. I'm like, yo. So I think probably one of those moments, I felt like I made it. The company went to one of my last tours with Evidence was in Colombia, in Cali. And it was just, I felt like a superstar because they were just the crowd was just like, "Rah!" I was like, wow. That. At different times with the company in New Zealand called Black Grace, just being able to do some really incredible things with my body, like just physically wise, like physically being like, holy, this is people can't do this. This is not normal. And I was doing it with ease or with regularity, with consistency.
Yeah.
That was that. And then my most recent, I'm doing it. I've made it was probably, and because I'm in Atlanta right now, and I'm from Atlanta, was on the Lakewood Amphitheater dancing with SWV and Escape. I think then being at home, being able to like being in a space where I saw TLC be like, wonder, and I used to draw pictures about it, like me being up there with other friends when I was in like third grade or something like that.
Wow.
And then being able to be up on the stage that I saw, such things. And I was like, I am that. I am the thing. And so it's that type of, they're different levels, and then you make it, and yeah. Yeah, there's just so many moments probably throughout my career that I've been like, I'm doing it. Like it's happening. I am, certain folks say, living the dream. And I really am living the dream.
Yeah.
So I can't say that there was one in particular moment where I feel like I made it. I feel like the consistency of checks and regular. God, it's so good. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you actually mentioned a few things that I wanted to ask you about. You decided after 6 years of being with Evidence, Ronald K. Brown's dance company, to not just like go to another company, but to leave the country.
Yes.
Leave the country
yes.
and join another company. So what was that like? I know there's a lot of dancers, especially in the US, that are interested in exploring dance companies and choreography in other places.
Yes.
And, there's so much that is unknown. What was that like? And I know your family had a lot of questions. I had questions.
They were frightened. My family was like, where are you? What are you doing? I was like, I'm still in America. Right now, everything's fine.
You were literally a day away. You were going somewhere that you would be a day away.
I was in the future.
Yes.
No Marty. Catch the reference. If you know, you know.